Hi guys,
Hello.
welcome to our free series 15 days towards peace and purpose. We are in the first part of days right now, on day 3, so we're in the regulation chapter of this series. There's 3 chapters if you like: self-regulation, identifying our values, and then getting things done that are meaningful to us. I wanted to let you know that after this video, in the comments, we will post the practices that we recommend as a way to upregulate safely and coherently. If you want to use that as a practice for yourself, you can access that in the comments. In the same way that yesterday we posted in the comments the down-regulation practice. So if you want to find that one, that's a beautiful 8-minute video that is a really good down-regulation practice. All right, I'm going to just share this video to our group and we're ready to go. Love you all, guys. Yes.
Okay, sweet. So far we've talked about kind of just generally up and down regulation and doing so coherently and incoherently. So today we're getting into up regulation. Right? So the theme so far of what we've been speaking to is that generally speaking, we have a lot of issues with how chronically upregulated our culture is. Everything is like so fast all the time. Like so much of the kind of the focus of our work worlds are, more efficiency, more productivity. We're constantly being bombarded by notifications, and this is like always on. It's kind of a thing these days, right? And we're really not designed for it. So it's a real issue. That kind of level of onness just burns our biology out. Our adrenals are just kind of pushing so super hard, right? So it's like a really important thing of this whole series, particularly this first part, is the importance of being able to down-regulate well. That we can kind of put the brakes on, we can slow down, we can come back to ourselves and that slowing down. We can broaden our attention to what's actually important to us because we actually have the space to be able to do so. We can actually resource ourselves by slowing down so that we can actually enjoy our lives a whole lot more and not kind of just be on the treadmill of constantly having to do the things, and we lose sight of why we're even doing the things, right? We're just kind of doing them because we're just lost in them.
It's almost like, as you say that, I get this image of like spinning out of control, where the spinning out of control state becomes so normal that we identify with that as that's just how I am, that's my personality, I'm good at getting things done. My life's just full, or even not even naming it like that. Like it just is. It's the business of life.
Yeah, it's just like the water that we're swimming in.
It's
a tumultuous water. Don't you know that we're in, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to keep kind of referencing down regulation, and knowing how to upregulate kind of well, so to speak, is actually really important. Upregulation is an important part of our ability to experience kind of more ecstatic, joyful types of emotions. That's a form of upregulation. So when I'm like excited and I'm happy and I'm in joy and I'm playful, that's kind of a healthy upregulation. And for sure, you have to get shit done and kind of be in that sense of kind of motivated, mindfulness, and that's kind of one form of upregulation. So we're going to talk through like how do you actually upregulate healthily today, and do it in such a way that we don't lose our ground, we don't lose that kind of healthy sense of slowness and downregulation.
Can anybody relate to having a passion project or deciding that you're going to start something new? For example, you're going to change your diet, you're going to exercise, you're going to like change the way you've been living in your house. You're starting a new relationship. So there's new or a new job. Often newness can bring about this kind of desire to want to really lean in. I don't know if you can relate, but I certainly have started new things. I had this habit of I would start an exercise regime and I would end up spraining my ankle very quickly. And I could go jogging at other times, but if I had started a particular routine where I was eating and exercising in a very disciplined way, I would end up crutches. And I couldn't understand why. It was so upsetting for me. And in time, what I've understood is that through this kind of wanting to really make the most of it, I was actually taking myself out of control in such a way that I was dissociating from my body because I started to do everything really quickly. And so I was incoherently upregulated. Another way that you might think about that is like sexuality, right? Being incoherently upregulated looks like pushing and forcing versus being adequately kind of leaned in and turned on, but also spacious and relaxed and receiving. Like it's this dance of how do I actually be leaned into something that counts, something that matters to me, without narrowing in and turning the volume up such that I'm actually like narrowed and on, but I'm leaving my body.
So a couple of just little extra pieces before we get more into kind of how do we kind of effectively upregulate. So one is around triggering, right? So your triggering is essentially when some kind of stimulus occurs and it takes us into a kind of a flashback of some way we've been imprinted earlier that have us kind of being activated in our nervous system. Someone says something that has been all of a sudden feeling like I'm a small child again, being kind of scolded by my mother. Like my boss said something to me, and all of a sudden I feel small, and my heart starts racing, my hands start feeling clammy. So this is kind of the fight-flight new version of upregulation. You get really activated. Okay.
Just on the triggering part, it's interesting because I think we can think of triggering as bad, and therefore only think that we're triggered when we have something like emotionally going on like that, which is totally justified. We are actually triggered. And I just want to point out that I think that our culture is triggered most of the time. It's this upregulation piece that we're the entire thing is speaking to. The triggered can be, I get triggered writing my own to-do list. I get triggered, imagining what I want to do on the weekend and all the things that I want to get done. Triggered doesn't mean that I have a strong emotional reaction or that there's anyone else involved. I can actually trigger myself, take myself into a dysregulated state, just by my own thoughts, just by my own passion, just by my own desire to do a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point actually, because in a way, when we encounter a form of strong dissonance, and that could just be putting your attention on a to-do list for the next week, because all of a sudden it's like, the gap between where I am now and what I want to get done has me starting to feel the kind of intensity of sensation in my body, which is inherently activated.
Right. And if you're an achiever, an overachiever, or a perfectionist, that is going to be happening. Or if you're in an environment where that level is set for you, i.e. most corporate environments, that is going to be happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a whole kind of importance around learning how to be with intensity of sensation. And that this to me is where the grounding piece is like super, super important. Like learning to feel my way, put my attention down to kind of my feet and my legs and awareness of when the body is meeting the ground, because it's the grounding that lets me be with that intensity of sensation such that it doesn't kind of have me like kind of upregulating in a way that I'm like super freaking out and spinning out of control.
And losing your ground.
Losing your ground. Yeah, and this kind of leads me to the other point I want to make, which is kind of like on the other side of too much upregulation is actually a branch of downregulation, because if we get kind of blown out by the intensity of what we're feeling, or it seems like there's nothing we can do about it, you know, on the other side is kind of hopelessness.
Collapse.
Hopelessness or disassociation. So we kind of gets all too much, and then I'm like, I can't do it, can't deal, I'm just going to escape somehow. I'm just going to like, you know, somehow lose myself in whatever it is, watching, binging shows, losing myself on Facebook feeds, or, you know, and then I'm just down, so kind of back into the down.
From a parts work perspective, because I'm a parts work therapist and we have a parts work course coming up, so wanted to talk also about parts. From a parts work perspective, when you have parts of us that are driving, you know, they're key drivers in our inner system, who are achievers and doers and performers and fixers and changers, like trying to change things about who we are to be more palatable for the world around us. They will have the nervous system be, typically, if they're that type of a part, they'll have the nervous system be upregulated, right? And then when what you're saying is when it's not working, when what they're attempting to do doesn't work, then we have another team of parts or a part that will come in that will try to put the fire out in some way of the mess that this one just caused. You know, like, oh, you're not making this work. You're overwhelmed. You're too stressed. You're going to F this up. Here, I'll take care of it. It sort of like pushes that one out of the way. I'm acting it out. That's not how it works, by the way. But you know, they're ego states. But I like thinking of these ones in us as people, because they have whole personalities and they have the full gamut of feelings. So the fire part will come in and sort of push that one that's been trying to manage the situation out of the way. And that one, everybody's is different. Might be, you know, oh, there we go. Now we're all good. Oh, glass of wine. There we go. That's better. You see, we got this now. Fuck it. The list doesn't matter anymore. Now we're okay. So, or, you know, scrolling, or Netflix, all those things, by the way, are okay in moderation. They're not okay when they're, well, actually, I'm not going to go into that. I think that there's a valid place for those things if we're actually being driven by ones in us that are fully upregulated. We need to down-regulate, and until we find better ways of doing it, I think it's there's no value in shaming those parts of us. They are here to try and help us. And yeah, like you said, when we've gone into, there's only so long we can stay in chronic upregulation, and the body will find a way to change it, whether that's healthily or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a bit about kind of how can we like upregulate in a really kind of healthy way. So we'll keep coming back to the same coherence. So going back to the parts, coherence in the way is that we're honoring the different voices of our parts, so that we're in kind of a healthy relationship with all of us. So coherence, and word for that is wholeness, we're in good wholeness. Or another way of talking about coherence is that we have different frequencies going on simultaneously. So programs of parts work there. I do feedback, right? So understanding different frequencies in the brain. So ideally, we've got multiple frequencies that are going on together in a healthy relationship. And that's kind of another way to think about coherence. So healthily upregulating, the key thing that I think in terms of is that ideally it's like we're upregulating from downregulation. It's like we're growing our up from down. So if I start with myself kind of rooted in the ground, I'm like, I've got slowness, I'm in self-connection, and then from that place of self-connection and slowness, I'm being purposeful about upregulating. I'm not doing it just because the environment is kind of freaking me out somehow, right? So from an environment point of view, it's like I grow myself up so that I'm still really connected to the ground while I'm then starting to bring more kind of energy into my system. And so upregulation is it's more fastness, right? There's more energy going on. So if I want to upregulate myself, a simple way to do it might just be to subtly kind of lean forwards a little bit and just bring a bit more kind of snappiness into my system, you know? So I'm like, yes, let's go, I'm ready to do this. But I'm doing that in such a way that I'm still connected to my down, right? So because it's, if I upregulate and lose connection with that down, that's when I'm going to start to kind of spin, kind of start to lose control of things.
If you're watching right now and you're sitting or standing, just try this. Like, it'll take 20 seconds. So feel the weight of your body. Gravity. Feel gravity pulling you downwards. Sink downwards if you're sitting. If you're moving, just imagine downwards movement. And now, just slowly and gently extend up through your spine. Just imagining a string from the top of your head that's pulling upwards, creating slight space between your vertebrae. And your chest comes forward slightly. Just be there. Feel your dignity. Okay. And then just lean forward slightly. And inside, feel the word yes. Okay. So just by subtly shifting the posture within the body and what direction you're holding your body, you can actually really nicely shape your body into a shape that has a lot of sovereignty, forward, upward movement, that has some fire in it, a lot of grounded spaciousness at the same time. And you would still be able to be in connection there with your watery emotions. We're not kind of too forward, we're not too grounded. There's still space for all of that, right? But we're in, we're up, but we're also connected to the down. We're gonna, as I said at the beginning, we'll be doing a short upregulation video that we'll post in the comments under this video.
So that to me is probably the first and foremost kind of practice tip around upregulating effectively. So second, breath. Breath is always such a powerful tool of regulation. So a really simple breathing tool that I use quite a bit to quickly upregulate myself is just a few quick in-breaths. So remember that in-breath is generally going to upregulate us more, and the out-breath is going to generally down-regulate us more. So just emphasizing the in or the out is really super powerful to up or down-regulate. So yeah, just going, just 3 fast in-breaths, you know, it just wakes up the system. We just got married and we had like so much to do to organize all of that, and there was kind of points during all of that where it was like super tiring to kind of keep going, and a tool like that just to kind of bring myself back up and inject myself with a little bit of energy if I'm like really flagging how much there is to do is like such a goal little pack to have. So I think that's a super awesome one to have.
And much better for your adrenals than coffee. So, sip through your nose.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of awesome breathwork stuff out there. And then the last tip that I wanted to share is that we tend to upregulate more than is actually necessary. Right? So the key thing here is like what's the minimal amount of upregulation that I need to do what I want to get done. In a simple way that I learned from a body teacher, Triibe.Earth, super like, to kind of be aware of this, is if I just like partially stand up, I'm feeling the tension of holding this pose, and then let go of any unnecessary tension from holding that.
He's got his bum off the chair right now when he does that.
I'm trying to do it in a way that my head doesn't scream. So it's just a simple kind of experiment to run to notice where am I holding more tension than is actually necessary for the action that I'm needing to perform right now. So from a brain point of view, like ideally I'm only upregulating into kind of low beta, which is kind of not, it's still a pretty relaxed kind of alertness essentially. I'm not like super like scattered and all over the place. I'm kind of more in this state of poise. I don't need to be super upregulated to kind of get a lot of stuff done. I can kind of be relaxed in my upregulation. And normally it's actually a lot more effective to be in that kind of relaxed upregulation. So learning to kind of let go of the things that we can't control from a cognitive point of view is an important part of this. Hang on, where am I freaking out about something that I can't actually do anything about it? Let go of that. It's unnecessary tension. And where can I do that from a body point of view, like I was just pointing out that experiment that we just ran? And so being aware of that, and a lot of the time that actually means noticing where we're too upregulated and downregulated to the kind of the right level. And so much of this is being aware of kind of what's appropriate. What's the appropriate level of regulation for what's actually happening.
You might, another question you might ask yourself is, how calm do I feel? How curious do I feel? How connected do I feel? Connected here and connected to what's around me, the person I'm with. How creative do I feel? How compassionate do I feel? How clear do I feel? These are some questions that you can ask yourself to know if you're being run by parts of yourself that are doing their best to try and get you what they think you need, but not from the wise aspect of ourselves, which has the capacity to be spacious and has the wisdom to know what it can control and what it cannot control.
Yeah. So I think just the last thing I want to say in closing is that it's combining slow frequencies and fast frequencies together, which ultimately kind of helps create this coherence, so going up and down. There's a bookmark I want to leave around, we can talk about very fast, fine frequencies, gamma frequencies in the brain. Those frequencies are actually quite subtle, and to be in that kind of subtlety and the speed of them, actually they tend to ride on the slower frequencies of the brain at the same time. So you can actually see this occurring. Gamma occurs a lot. Compassion types of meditation, intensity of a lot of strong experience of light, and strong experience of very kind of fast cognition. And this is then where we get to the really kind of subtle, masterful territories of refined kinds of upregulation. So we want to geek out a bit more about that stuff. That's everything I wanted to say. So,
great, thanks so much for joining us, guys. And there will be a video posted in the comments so that you can do an upregulation practice, and you can have access to it whenever you like if you're wanting to coherently upregulate. Thanks so much for joining us. We're on day 3. We've got another 12 days left of this series. Super looking forward to getting into the values chapter of the series. It's going to be deep, connecting us to that which is really meaningful. Alrighty, thanks for joining us. Bye, guys.